Welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'll be talking you through my FPL team selection for game week 35. Starting off in goal, I've decided to go for Jason Steele over Bernd Leno for Brighton's home match against Everton. At a glance, there don't appear to be many teams that look likely to keep a clean sheet this week, but I think Brighton have a pretty good chance against an Everton side who have only won once away from home throughout the entire 22-23 league campaign. Having picked up a knock the other week, there was uncertainty over who De Zerbi was going to start in the league out of Steele and Sanchez, but Steele appears to be his number one and looks to be a great choice in FPL for the remainder of the season. Kicking off the defence, I'm persisting with Kieran Trippier for Newcastle's home match against Arsenal. With 6 consecutive blanks in a row, Trippier isn't performing like the fantasy asset we're all so familiar with from earlier in the season. Having said that, he is still creating a ton of chances for his teammates, from corners especially, and I think it's only a matter of time before he returns again. The Magpies have had no issue with putting the ball in the net, scoring 13 times in their last 3 matches, and with a double game week just around the corner, I think it's a sensible move to hold on to the Newcastle right back. Having returned assists in 5 consecutive Premier League matches, Alexander-Arnold has to be part of the starting 11 this week for his home fixture against Brentford. Liverpool's right-back seems to be flourishing in his new creative role in defensive midfield, constantly finding himself on the ball and creating plenty of opportunities via through balls and crosses. Although this will be a tough game for Liverpool, and I don't expect them to keep a clean sheet, Alexander-Arnold's points potential primarily comes from his attacking threat, which is why he's so often popular with the FPL bonus point system. I'm recording this before United's second game week 34 fixture against Brighton, but it was a pleasant surprise to see Luke Shaw pick up a clean sheet versus Unai Emery's free-scoring Aston Villa. On paper, I would say that Man United have one of the best fixture run-ins till the end of the season, including a double in game week 37, so tripling up on their assets in FPL is probably a good move. With multiple injuries across United's back line, it's a shame to see Shaw have to fill in at centre-back, but even so he still seems to be on some corners and free kicks, so there is some attacking output as well as clean sheet potential. It was a relief to see Mohamed Salah take a penalty and convert it last week against Tottenham, especially with Fabinho on the pitch, so for now at least, it seems like he'll remain on them. Salah has now returned in 6 consecutive home matches, so although Brentford will likely be a difficult team to break down, you would expect the Egyptian to find a way of returning. With players like Jota and Luis Diaz returning from injury, there seems to be a lot of uncertainty over who starts across Liverpool's forward line, but having started every game other than one this season, Salah looks to be the pick of the bunch. After playing 120 minutes in the FA Cup final, and then a further 90 minutes during the week against Nottingham Forest, it was hardly surprising to see Karu Matoma on the bench for Brighton's 6-0 thrashing over Wolves. Although none of the popular FPL midfielders in Matoma, March and McAllister returned in that game, they all played reduced minutes, and so should be ready to start this week against an Everton side who have leaked a lot of goals. With 2 fixtures in both game week 36 and 37, Brighton players look to be an absolute must for our teams, so it's just a question of which 3 to go for. I've got 2 free transfers this week, and one will almost definitely be used to bring in Bruno Fernandes for United's away match against West Ham. The Hammers have conceded 9 goals across their last 3 home matches, and having won 4 of their last 5 league matches, I'd expect Man United to score some goals and get the 3 points from this one. A few weeks ago, Fernandes didn't appeal much to me as a decent fantasy asset, but since Casemiro returned from suspension, we've seen Ten Hag line up with him in a more advanced position in the midfield, so taking that into account and the fact United have an upcoming double game week makes him a great pick in my eyes. One of the best value for money players this season in FPL has to be Marcus Rashford, especially in the second half of the season, and he completes my 4-man midfield for the away trip to West Ham. With 16 goals and 7 assists so far this season, Rashford is having a fantastic campaign, and I expect he'll get a hefty price rise in FPL when the 23-24 season kicks off, whether he plays in that left wing spot or as United's main striker. He offers attacking threat against any opposition, and with creative players like Fernandes and Eriksen in the side, he'll always be provided with chances. In order to free up funds to bring in Fernandes this week, I'm having to use my other free transfer to downgrade Darwin Núñez to Julian Alvarez. Having said that, over this coming month, City will most likely rest players for the Champions League, and they have a double game week, so I'd probably say that Alvarez is the better option moving forwards. Despite only starting 8 matches this season, Alvarez has managed to return an incredible 4 double-digit hauls in FPL, and so long as he starts, I think there's a real possibility he gets another this week against Leeds. With City scoring 11 goals in their last 3 home matches, surely he's worth taking a punt on. One player who's been ticking along nicely with returns this season is Dominic Solanke, with 6 goals and 10 assists for the campaign. Bournemouth have been exceptional lately, picking up 4 wins out of their last 5 league matches, and 3 of those wins came against other relegation-threatened sides. Solanke has returned a very impressive 30 FPL points over his last 4 matches, and with the way Bournemouth are playing, I can see them getting a result against Chelsea. I definitely have a bit of a benching dilemma this week between a few players, but Solanke gets the nod from me due to his current form. Finally making the 11 this week and getting the armband is of course Erling Haaland for City's home match against Leeds. There don't appear to be too many standout fixtures this week, but City versus Leeds is definitely one to focus on, especially as the title race isn't yet over, and Leeds have been incredibly vulnerable in defence lately. Seen as this game, along with a few others, is the first game in the game week, we might get some early team news and find out who starts, and this will determine whether I give the armband to Haaland or opt for another player. I think the most likely scenario is that he starts and then gets subbed off around the hour mark, which means that making the bench this week is Leno, McAllister, Castagna and Neco Williams. It's a tough call of who to start over Leno and Steele, but I just favour the Brighton keeper, as I think they're probably the better side with a better fixture. There's a decision to be made over who to start out of McAllister, Solanke and Alvarez. Hopefully some early team news should make that pick more straightforward. At the moment I'm benching McAllister, as he'll most likely play in a more defensive midfield role, which could affect his attacking output. I wish Neco Williams all the best with a speedy recovery after sustaining a terrible jaw injury in the game against Brighton. So that concludes my Game Week 35 team selection. If you have any questions regarding your own team, make sure to leave them down below in the comments. Thanks as always for watching, and I wish you guys massive green arrows for the upcoming game week.